Hello and welcome to Game Rant. Today we'll be taking a look at some of the strangest, most mysterious, and most criminally underrated horror games that I bet most have never even heard of. And jumping right in, we have Garage Bad Dream Adventure. Arguably the most obscure game in existence, this title came out in limited capacity for the PS1 in Japan only in the mid-90s, meaning very few have even been able to experience it, let alone tell the tale. This horror point-and-click adventure's plot is as strange as its story, as it follows a cyborg in a hellscape based on the now-vanished Kowloon walled city as it searches for fuel needed to fulfill his mysterious and bizarre designs. Hell Knight, originally released under the title Dark Messiah in Japan, offers one of the most interesting and unique takes on survival horror out there. The main character is stuck inside a massive underground system of sewers and tunnels hidden beneath a futuristic version of Tokyo. And within this immense hub, players will be hunted by evil creatures in a first-person gameplay loop that somehow prevents what would otherwise be a repetitive experience from ever becoming boring. Then there's the simply titled D, a mystery title where players embody an investigator named Laura as she hunts after her father, who has supposedly gone on a murder spree at a hospital. But things soon get weird as she arrives at the hospital and it immediately turns into what looks to be a haunted castle. The title originally sold very well on the Sega Saturn, but Sony simply didn't believe in the project and ended up only printing less than 30,000 units for the PlayStation, leading to its largely forgotten status today. Next is Drowned God: Conspiracy of the Ages, which is a point-and-click horror take on the Myst formula that became a cult hit back in the 90s. Though likely coasting on the popularity of the X-Files, there was a lot to like about this beautifully eerie game, which tied together all sorts of weird conspiracy theories in its incredibly peculiar narrative. How Fish is Made is an absolute nightmare of a journey into an abstract world filled with disturbing horror beyond comprehension. And it's beautiful. It's an experience clearly unbound from the industry's ever-present need to create something to sell to a mass audience. And that means it feels less like looking at a spooky abstract painting and more like being eaten by one. Coming up next, Harvester feels like the evil version of a classic LucasArts point-and-click adventure game. In it, the player embodies a conveniently amnesic man who has no recollection of his past, performing tasks for a possibly evil cult to gain answers about his life. In all honesty, it's not quite as well written as its most famous non-evil counterparts, but it more than makes up for it with enough wacky and gruesome content to keep players from questioning its bizarre plot. The Void traps players in a uniquely eerie and spooky hub of different alien lands, where they must engage in dialogue with the, quote, sisters, who are incredibly beautiful women with unknown allegiances and abilities, while doing battle with their, quote, brothers, huge monsters who are clearly not aligned with the player. Everything in this game is as beautiful as it is strange, and so is the method used to deal with it all. Painting. Players will conjure the solutions to all of their problems by using a specific sort of paint to draw shapes that, in turn, conjure magic spells. Then there's Blair Witch Volume 1 Rustin Parr, a prequel to the movie, where players investigate the case of the infamous serial killer referenced in the film. And it plays just like the original Resident Evil games, down to the beautiful ambiance courtesy of some neat pre-rendered backgrounds. Nowadays, everything that From Software produces is an immediate hit. But back before the release of the original Demon Souls, things were pretty much the opposite, and their 2004 title, Quan, is a very interesting horror game that likely didn't get a lot of printed copies outside of Japan due to its dark themes. And unfortunately, it currently holds the title of the most expensive PlayStation 2 game, both due to its relatively obscure release and the modern pedigree of its developer. And lastly, fitting for this list, we have Obscure, a game where a group of teens band together to try to make it out alive from their school during a monster invasion. The story behind the scenes is that it was released too close to the launch of Resident Evil 4, which led to this title's horror mechanics ultimately failing to change the world, as everyone was busy replicating the elements seen in Capcom's title. However, Obscure to this day still remains a gem that's worth discovering. And for now at least, that actually wraps up our list. Thank you so much for watching, and for more like this, check out GameRant.com.